Day 2 of the first weekend of News Central's brand new offering, Breakfast Extra. If you were with us yesterday, you would have witnessed the excitement that followed weeks of preparation and hard work. And for our producers, it was a night of absolute Armageddon. Yeah, here we are. We stand again raring to go, filled with what we define as a passion for the art of news presentation, unlike other TV stations in the history of Nigerian news television. As a new week begins, Nigerians anticipate the hope that they, are anticipating where the naira will stand against the dollar. Indeed, hope has become the currency with which we trade. With stories of the naira being rejected in northern border towns, we wonder when the effect of President Bola Tinubu's economic measures will kick in. I mean, after throwing everything at my mother's kitchen sink into the economic reform blender, little has changed at this point. Speaking of the naira, in the case of imprisoned Nigerian cross-dresser Idris Bobrisky Okuneye, it would appear that all animals are equal, but some are more equal than others, as videos of highly placed Nigerian individuals committing similar abuses are making their way onto social media in what seems to be a social media movement in defense of the offense that he committed. Now, zooming out of the Nigerian context, Africa commemorates along with Rwanda 30 years after the genocide against ethnic Tutsis that left the world in shock. President Kagame in Kigali, commemorating a week of solemn remembrance, spoke about a collective grief of the nation and the lessons other multi-ethnic African nations could learn from this unfortunate instance. And back in Nigeria this morning, it's a case of picking your passion, or maybe your poison. A choice to celebrate remarkable feats from London to Lagos by heroic Amazons, or wallow in defeat on the Lagos to Calabar Coastal Highway project that seems intent on displacing livelihoods across the Nigerian coastline. Well, this week will tell. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Breakfast Extra. Let's get out of bed together. My name is Mazino Appeal, and of course I'm not alone. I have my delectable co-host Judith Atibi, who together would be checking out the front pages of the Sunday dailies together. Judith, how are you?
Good morning, Mazino, and good morning to our viewers. Let's get ready, gear up. It's going to be a fantastic breakfast, we say so ourselves. And thank you for joining us to start the day with the dailies. More to come here on Breakfast Extra.
Well, hey, coming up this hour, a look at our big report of the week, the 10th anniversary of the Chibok Girls abduction. Stay tuned. But first, let's tell you what's making the front pages of the dailies this morning. Do you have the dailies with you there?
Oh, yes, I do. But let me give you the honors to start with.
Great. So let's start from the Daily Trust this morning. Inside the Daily Trust, we have these headlines here. Inside Benway's unending militia war. Of course, there are some riders that go with that. How it started, festered, bad boys used, dumped by politicians, Ghana vacuum and leadership tussle. Governor Elias door still open for amnesty media. And of course, Cuba moving on in frozen state. At the bottom for that paper, gunmen abduct Channels TV report demands 30 million naira. I think we have a bit of a snafu here because that seems to be from the yesterday dailies. However, we have some more dailies on here. We're going to be taking a look at the Punch newspaper and, of course, the Guardian and the Saturday Tribune. How about I give us just a second so that we make sure that we have the best ones. Here we go.
Yes, indeed. This one here is from Punch newspaper. The very first headline that jumps at you is Labour submits 615,000 minimum wage demand in fresh proposal. And at the very top there, you see Yoruba Nation agitators storm Oyo Government House in army camouflage, and that one there is at the top. And at the bottom there, some love. It says couples find love. If I get that correctly, couples
find love serving fatherland in
NYC.
Didn't you find love?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, sorry. Welcome to the world. You missed out on that one.
Oh, I did for sure. And also at the other bottom there, you see why I sell to a birthday party.
Why I sell suit? Like a birthday party. We've got more Sunday papers this morning. Let's check out the next one that we have. Taking a look at the Guardian newspaper now. Now for the Guardian newspaper, we've got these headlines. Oh, let's do the Nation. PDP neck. Atiku's Wike's camp head for the trenches. At the very top for the Nation. Ondo gubernatorials. APC clears Aidatiwa, Ibrahim, 13 others for primaries. And on the Chibok Girls, of course, today being the anniversary, parents can demand release of 91 still in captivity. At the very bottom, Northern Elders Forum, political burden to region, says Matawale. And just on top of that, 20 held as Yoruba Nation agitators invade Oyo Secretariat. We move on to our next.
Now we're moving away from the Nation newspaper for Sunday now, and we go on to the Guardian. And the first one that jumps at you is Nigeria's debt servicing may rise by 48.3% as budget faces distortions. And you can find that on the page 2 of the paper. Northern Elders Forum not speaking for North, and that's from Matawale there. And also there's the Plateau State Governor who's urging vigilance as fresh attacks clash and claim lives in Plateau State there. We know that Plateau has been facing a lot of insecurity challenges lately. And onto at the bottom there, you can find federal government earmarks 1.5 billion naira to support indigent cancer care patients. That's a good one for sure. Let's move away from the Guardian newspaper now and move on to other there as well. This time the Sunday Vanguard.
Sunday Vanguard's got this one here. Commotion in Ibadan, Yoruba Nation. Gunmen tried to seize Oyo Governor's office, State Assembly says. And of course, Tinubu storm in the north as Defense Minister fires back at NEF. Also, it's a decade of shame. Bring back our girls. Others hold rallies in Abuja, Lagos today. And of course, at the very top for the Sunday Vanguard, 15-month-old baby, 15 houses burned, 10 shots in Lagos, community attack. Olubada deadlock rocks Ibadan, ailing Oba Olakunlehin, tears high chief Ladoja, Oba Ajibola, 7 others apart. And D-Day nears as APC aspirants relocate to Abuja for Tinubu's endorsement. Moving on now to what might be our international dailies this morning. Let's see if we have any one of those ones coming up.
Yes, and this one here is all the way from Kenya on the Sunday Nation. Kenya's fertilizer barons. That's the first headline that jumps at you. And at the very top there, white ghost of Jaramogi and Saitoti humiliation could return to hunt Gachuga and Party Roll. And also when you look at the bottom there, you see Kenya's superstar marathoner who died, Kelvin Kiptoo's wife, his late widow there, his widow, I beg your pardon, attends the marathon that never was. A little bit of sad story there. And when you look at page 12 of Sunday Nation from Kenya, it says the inside political games the Tawe movement is playing. And on to the doctor strike that is gripping Kenya. A sick nation, how previous health practitioners and ministers handled strikes provides crucial lessons. And you can find that in page 2. And also disaster flood warnings, fresh forecast, I beg your pardon, issued after heavy rains wreak havoc across the country. And that's also on page 2 of the Sunday Nation.
Interesting story there about the Kenyan doctors on strike. Apparently not just Nigeria, but we have other African nations battling what we find in our medical system as well. And now the Guardian Post for Sunday. Constitutional Amendment saga. Christians drag CBC executive president to court. Fears heighten. Majority congratulations may break away. And in Douala, man 60 dies in motel while making love with 27-year-old girlfriend. Ooh. House girl, the Mooses, with employers 380,000. That's the Doualan currency. They have to be sure on that one. And of course, still in Douala, domestic worker confesses woman bribed her to poison her husband. Young lady allegedly poisoned at launching of her beauty salon. There's so many of those stories there with the Douala instance. I'm wondering if this is a thing that happens every single time there. But perhaps maybe we'll follow some of these very interesting stories inside of the African continent when it comes to the dailies. I'm finding them very interesting.
So do I, Mazino, so do I. Well, thank you so much, everyone. That's all of the headlines that we can take for Sunday. We did make sure that we also added some parts of Africa, and we're doing that going forward with our dailies, both Saturdays and Sunday.
Yes, indeed. Now, coming up this hour, a look at our big report of the week, the 10th anniversary of the Chibok Girls abductions. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Yo, welcome back. Breakfast Extra here, and we hope that you at least enjoyed that really short break. Now, we have something very exciting for you guys. Our Weekend Warrior package features someone you guys have been hearing about for the past many weeks. Pelumi Nubi, a tourist vlogger who drove all the way from London to Lagos in a Peugeot. Now, you had the privilege of sitting down with her and
oh
talking
my goodness,
with her.
Mazino, I have
like?
to tell you that it was such. She's the interviewer's dream. You know what I mean? Like, she's sweet to speak to, and she's just divine. I just love her.
Let's see what went like, and let's enjoy it.
All right, Pelumi, it's wonderful to have you join us live here. And can I just say, congratulations. That's the word I'm looking for.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you for having me.
What a journey you've had.
What a journey.
I mean, when the announcements were made, right, and when you started, I mean, when you were planning all this, did you stop for a moment and take a pause and be like, what am I doing?
Yes. I know at the same time. It was a quick pause. It was a quick pause of we are actually doing this. I think it was more of the moment when I was driving out of the house and like, oh, we're really doing this, you know. And you know, when you're on the road, sometimes it hits you like a brick of just on your face. It's like, damn, like we're really doing this. And then when you finally made it to the semi border and crossed into Nigeria, like we really did this. Like, so yeah, there were definitely moments of like realization whereby the excitement just got bigger and bigger and bigger, and yeah.
I mean, what even inspired you to go on this journey to begin with? What made you wake up one morning and say, Pelumi Nubi, we're going to ride from London to Lagos?
It was honestly a layering of different things. I'm a world explorer. I've visited over 80 plus countries, you know, backpacking, road trip, air, sea, anything. I've been doing that. But moments I was thinking, I want to connect to places I consider home. You know, I was born in Lagos, Nigeria. I grew up in London. And, you know, there was this guy that did it by bike, Mr. Kunle. And it was very much, oh, as a woman done this. And not discovering that there was any woman that actually, or did we do it, but the media, or, you know, we just don't get enough recognition as we should. So I was like very strategic and very intentional about making sure the content was out there, but really wanted to inspire the next generation and be representation that you can do this. This is a real life example of someone who has done it. Then go for and seek your own adventure too as well.
Yeah, look. How was the preparation like, right? Because this is a long journey.
It's a very long journey.
And anyway, because you're a traveler and an adventurer, I can imagine you would think to travel, but I wouldn't even think to drive a car. It's solo driving, which is really gruesome, by the way. You're just by yourself, riding long hours, late in the night, dark, you know. What was the preparation like?
So in terms of preparation, like it's not, I'm very spontaneous. I'm very big on, you could be like, girl, what are you doing this weekend? Let's go. I'm like, I'm down. You know, that's my attitude. But with this trip, it wasn't like that. It had to be planned intensively. Like you highlighted, I was doing this solo. With such an expedition, people literally have a team with them. They have someone in charge of food and logistics and cooking, you know, and driving and medic and stuff. I had to wear all these multiple hats at the same time. So I needed to be as prepared as I could, from logistic of where exactly are the routes I'm going to take, to where I'm going to be sleeping, or what I'm going, safety laws in these places, requirements for me. That was a lot of information I had to go through. So it took a year plus of actually planning it out and then setting a final goal date that I'm going to set off and start the adventure.
Oh, what a life to be a woman.
What a joy.
What a joy. And so in preparation, right, you're prepping, understanding the laws, the routes, and all the things that will be needed for you. And going through the routing of yourself, I'm sure it was a different experience, wasn't it?
Oh yes, absolutely. Just like life, we plan life and we have these goals and that goals, and then life is like, by the way, this is what's going to happen. So it's the same as travel. I think travel is such a beautiful reflection of life, whereby you have all of the things down planned to a T, but then it could be a different law that happens, or there's a holiday that you didn't anticipate for, you got sick as a human being. So there's just so many things that we plan as much, say prepare for the worst, but expect the best kind of thing. But yeah, it's just having that mindset of being flexible enough as well, not a rigid plan per se, but being adaptable and flexibility, which is also something travel teaches you.
And I'm sure that's something you'd learn as well in that long journey. What were some challenges that you didn't expect? I mean, you thought, okay, this is the worst that could happen, and then something happens and just delays you or just blows you out of the park and it's like, whoa, I didn't anticipate this? What was one thing?
There were the two things that kind of have fought hand in hand, you know. Obviously the border controls. Like I learned about the experience of people's at borders, but like I didn't expect to stay on border for 2 nights, you know. I didn't expect to have to sleep in my car for so many of the borders. I didn't expect really bad, but you know, there are lots of reasons, lots of things that were just like I looked literally on satellite TV to look at the condition of the road, but you don't expect rain, whereby then the place is flooded up or something like that. So it's just so many things that you do plan, but sometimes it's not the case. But my car accident was definitely the things that I did not see coming. You know, I've been driving for over 6 years. I've never been in a car accident before. So just that was definitely a knockoff in a foreign place where they did not speak my language. I was very far away from home. And just having to navigate that change of what this trip could potentially be in the case of, is this where we quit and colleagues, you know, we've done well, like we've done well, flight home, take the L and keep going, or is it a place whereby you're like, you know what, I just got knocked down, how do we get up? You know, even if it might take a while, but we still get up.
Whew. And you did get up as well.
I did, indeed.
What was some, I mean, cultural shocks for you? Going through the routes, what was the reception like with the people in all the different countries that you had to go through? And what was the reaction like seeing not just a woman, but also a woman of African descent? You know, you were Nigerian, driving as well. What were some of the reaction and cultural, you know?
I think in terms of cultural shock, the first thing was just that realization of, oh, damn, like, women still have these certain rules and responsibilities that the society still plays upon them, and once you start to step out, they're almost looking at you like, you crazy girl, like what are you doing? Like, like, you know, like there's just this, you know, you're not bearing child, you're not married, you're doing this by yourself. What's wrong? Who's chasing you? You know, having that mindset, and you think, gosh, we're in 2024, like come on, like a person can choose whatever lifestyle they choose to have. So that was definitely a cultural thing whereby you're just like, like there's still this very archaic and very backward thinking that is still ongoing to the present day, sadly.
Wow. I would say, I would describe, would you, all right, you know, I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
Okay, we're going there. Like a self-actualization journey or self-realization or like eat, pray, love type situation.
Absolutely. It was for me before anyone else. The travel is always for Pelumi. You know, I don't want to lose sight of that. She's a traveler at heart. You know, no matter how many people get involved in the journey, I need to be having fun. And once the fun is not there, then there's no point of doing it in the first place. So it definitely was a self-realization. It was a self, you know, knowing oneself even more. Like I thought I was strong, but some situation came to me and I'm like, damn, you need to be stronger. You know, like there was things that, you know, and I was able to rest. I was able to, you know, enjoy and immerse myself and have new experiences and cry and laugh and just share really intense emotion with sometimes strangers, you know. So it was definitely all of that really lovely things, which I showcased as well, like just beautiful places that just like driving and just the vocabulary was just wow. I just had no more words, you know. So yeah, there was definitely that fun part of the trip, which is something I really do want to speak more on. The negative did happen, but the positive were a lot more.
I mean, of course, there are lots of highs that come with it. On the journey, it's a solo drive, but you had a companion.
Lumi?
Of course, I was going to talk about Lumi the flower. First of all, is it sort of like a nickname of your name?
Yes.
I guess it's not.
It is, and it's
very
not.
obvious.
So that nickname was actually a realization after she's been named. So my name is Oluwapelumi, you know, Lumi, Pelumi kind of thing, part of me. But really what was, the full story was, our full name is Oluwa Illuminate, which basically like God illuminates my path, or like a tribute to both my, you know, Nigerian and my English culture. So it was just having those two things come together, but it just felt right. Like I was those parents that usually wait after they're giving birth and have a few days with the child. You know, some parents have the immediate name, but with her I needed to drive her for on this particular trip. Like I've had that, I've never had a name for her, but with this trip she came alive. Like she really proved that, you know, small doesn't mean, you know, insignificant. You know, she really was small but mighty. Absolutely.
And now she's going to be more significant.
Yes,
I know.
I'm so excited for her. I'm gonna miss her so dearly. Like she has been a ride or die, literally. Like she's been through car accidents, she's been through high moments, she's just been there, like long conversations. You're by yourself, you crack a conversation with the car, you're like, girl, that was hard. Like, why is it so?
What are you thinking?
Exactly, like, come on, we can do this. You know, pulling each other up some hill or some bad road, and I'm like, come on, Louie. Legit, like full big emotions with her. And you're right, she's gonna be donated to a museum right here in Lagos. So I'm so excited that our legacy continues to live on, even long before, even after I'm gone. There'll be people that'll be able to watch our journey, interact with it, and be hopefully inspire future generation to just seek exploration, because we learn so much from traveling.
Very inspiring so far that I'm getting.
Oh my God! Emotional.
I have to let you go because you're running, because I know you have so much lined up. This is the media tour. So thank you so much for coming. But before I let you go,
no problem.
One word to describe the after feeling. There's the earthquake, and after the earthquake is the aftershocks, right? What is that word that you describe that feeling that you just took out of it now, just going through the motions after the entire journey? When you arrived, when you got down and you said, I did it, what was that feeling?
I don't think I can put in one word because it was just so big.
Yeah.
But it's a overwhelm of gratitude, in such a relief, like an exhale. It was an exhale.
Yeah. Waiting to exhale the entire time.
I did not realize I was holding my breath for that long. Like, it was a weight upon my shoulder. There's videos of me just busting out in tears. Like,
did it.
You finally did it. Like the ups, the down, the uncertainty, the everything. Once I crossed into that semi-borders, got the homecoming from the Lagos State Government. Shout out to them. Got the greetings from the University of Lagos. Just really felt like I made it home, and it's a feeling you can't put money on. Honestly.
You made it home, indeed.
I did.
Welcome home.
Thank you.
Lumi's going to the museum, like you said. What next for Pelumi?
So Pelumi just got given the title of ambassador of tourism here in Lagos State.
Well, so it's going to be a gala to celebrate.
It will be amazing. I've been interested with this amazing role, which I want to definitely work on, expand tourism here in Lagos, because that will mean expansion in Nigeria as a whole. Just the same thing I've been doing in other places, advocacy, and, making sure that people realize that Africa is a beautiful continent. There's so much to see, so much to do. Just continue that, showcasing it to the world.
Right.
So, I'm in this very moment trying to just take it all in. I think as humans, sometimes we speed past our achievements, things that we've wanted to get to, and we get there.
Right.
We don't take a moment to just take it in and, immerse them in yourself. So I'm just exhaling basically right now, still in the exhale moment.
And I will give you that.
Yeah, when the inhale happens, it's back to work and back to doing everything I love, which is travel and exploring.
I can't wait to see the journey.
Thank you so much.
The next phase, the next era.
I'm so excited for it. I'm excited as well.
Congratulations again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You bet, I can't wait myself. Coming up here on Breakfast Extra, it's the anniversary. Bring back our girls 10 years after. Coming up, the big story. And you're welcome back. Thanks for joining us again here on Breakfast Extra. Today marks the 10th anniversary of the tragic abduction of the Chibok girls in Nigeria. A decade has passed since over 200 girls were kidnapped by Boko Haram militants, sparking global outrage and calls for their safe return. Now, despite efforts by the Nigerian government and international partners, many of the girls remain missing. Now, joining us as we reflect, or rather you should join us as we reflect on this heartbreaking event and the ongoing quest for justice and closure for the families affected. Joining us to revisit the harrowing incident exactly 10 years after is News Central reporter Umar Kira. We'll get to him. And also joining us in the studio here is Okpeyemi Ademolekun, member Bring Back Our Girls, IED, Nigeria's, number one person to go to when it comes to these instances. You're welcome, Okoyemi. Good to have you.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Grand.
Let's get started, shall we? I want to first of all say thank you so much for making out the time to join today, and we understand how much work that you have put in when it comes to the Enough is Enough Foundation. Enough is Enough, which is a civil society organization. You guys have been on the ground doing the work and been pushing off when it comes to hashtag Bring Back Our Girls. So very well done.
Thank you.
It's been 10 years so far, and today marks it. Let's talk about it in full details so far from a standpoint of a CSO and how you feel given that it's 10 years of this long.
Well, I think the way I'd like to put it in perspective is last month, over 270 odd boys and girls were kidnapped from a school in Kaduna. There was barely a blip, both internally and globally. And I think if you think about it that way, it tells you what has happened to us as human beings in those 10 years. Because in Nigeria, there have been at least 38 school-related abductions in that decade, with almost 2,000 students abducted, probably about 1,800 of them returned. So over the years, as every year has gone by, while we remember the Chibok girls, and we always say it's not to say that the Chibok girls are any more special than any other student or any other individual that's been abducted for that matter. But for the Chibok girls, we had names and pictures. And you showed that in the montage earlier. So for a lot of people, there was a way to connect. They weren't just some amorphous group of people that you don't know. You had names, you had family members. So there was a bit of an anchor. And then beyond just the people in Chibok who were affected, there was really this outrage. And over the decade, we literally said, yes, we're talking about the Chibok girls, but as a marker for all others that have been kidnapped or abducted. In the 10 years, we've had 3 presidents. For the transition from one to the other was quite political and quite, because it was at the end of Jonathan's tenure. So as Buhari was coming in, it was a lot of we will do better, quote and unquote. We had 8 years of an APC administration. We're in an APC administration. Have they brought back some of the girls? Almost certainly, and we'll give that credit. But one of the things that has been consistent in that decade is just a lack of communication. So till today, there has not been an official document by the federal government of Nigeria saying these are the 276 girls and these are what has happened to them. These are the ones that are still missing. These are the ones that are back. These are the ones that are abroad. So I think that also speaks a bit to the way the government has engaged both in terms of the girls, civil society, and the country at large. And I'll end by 2 things also in that context. One, some of the girls that have come back were part of burying their classmates. Either they were ill or they were killed. The government has failed to acknowledge that as well. And they say, oh, the girls were traumatized. But our question to them is, if a soldier watches another soldier die in battle, is that not trauma? Yes, it is. But you'll take that soldier's word that their colleague died on the battlefield. But a 17-year-old girl tells you, in some cases, a 24-year-old girl tells you they watched someone else die, and you're not taking their word for it. So you have parents over the 10 years who have not been able to have closure, and their children are dead, and that's a fact. We've gotten lists from some of the girls, but we're unable to release them because the parents haven't given consent. But we know that at least 2 parents have taken the word of the returned girls, done their own funeral ceremony for their daughter, and moved on. I mean, obviously not moved on, you can't move on from your child's death, but in a sense, they're not expecting their child to come back. And then lastly, over the last 10 years as well, there's been probably about 1.5 billion naira allocated to Chibok girls, whatever, the school, the rehabilitation. We've written to the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs twice to ask, okay, this is money that's been allocated. It doesn't mean you got it, but let us know if you got it or what you got and how you spent it. Unless they're going to reply us today. They haven't bothered to respond. But we are, I mean, it's under the Freedom of Information Act, and it allows us to sue them, and we probably would.
So you said something about the 2 different tenures that have been involved in this instance regarding the abductions, the Buhari one and the APC, 8 years, you said. However, let's take a look at the different responses. Are there any differences between the response from the Buhari tenure to the Bola Tinubu tenure when it comes to abductions, and have we learned anything from that past instance?
Well, as I said, I don't think we have. If you've had 38 at least related school abductions since then, and there's nothing that, in my view, that we've done differently. Of any of the 38 abductions, do we have a list? Of any of the 38 abductions, are the parents being engaged? In any of the 38 abductions, have they given an update of this is what we're done, this is what we're doing? One of the things I was going to say earlier that came on the back of the Chibok Girls abduction was advocacy around a missing persons register. So in a lot of developed countries, if someone goes missing, there's a place that you report so that there's a database. You can cross-check if a child is found, who's the parent, whatever it might be. We've advocated for that for almost 10 years, and it hasn't been done. At some point, and to your point about responses, under the Buhari administration, they did start the process. There was a lot of consultation with the Red Cross that helped to design what that could look like. They selected, I think, 5 or 6 pilot states that they were piloted with the National Human Rights Commission. But the government never funded it. Again, it's one of the things we've advocated over the years. Give money to this thing so we can have a database of missing people, not just the Chibok Girls. That hasn't been done. EIE, a number of years on Femi Falana's challenge, started tracking missing people in Nigeria. We believe we're the only organization that does that in a consistent manner at this point. So yeah, I think in responses at the beginning part, and I'll end with this, beginning part of the Buhari administration, there was a lot of activity. Because part of Buhari coming into power was, he's been a former military head of state. There was a sense that he understood military could deal with Boko Haram. So there was an initial action. There were 2 batches of girls that were returned under the first 2 years of his tenure, 21 girls and then 82. But over the years, as we say these days, the energy has dissipated over the years. And insecurity generally in the country is on an increase. And this is not about just schools. In Lagos, people are getting kidnapped for ransom. And that's become another economy and another conversation entirely.
Now, we're also going to be joined online by our correspondent who is live. He joins us live, and he is in Maiduguri, Borno State, and he's been covering it for a package for us. Our correspondent, Kirawa, that's Umaru Kirawa. Umaru, are you there?
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming on. We're also joined by Aminu Hayatu. He is a conflict and crisis researcher at Amnesty International Nigeria. Aminu, thank you so much for coming on.
Welcome, gentlemen.
Aminu, we're having issues there with your audio. If you can help us fix that up so we can
Yeah, maybe you've got it on mute. You might want to take it off of mute. But let me ask our first question to the gentleman here.
Sorry about that. Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, now, so Umaru, if you can hear us, I want to ask the questions regarding what the state is like. You've met some of these people. What kind of mental state are they in 10 years after? What are they talking about? Are they still experiencing trauma, the family, the individuals who were involved?
Well, both natural, one of the major issue of concern or what the families and people in the community are talking about is the issue of rescuing the remaining abducted Chibok School Girls, because some of the families who were opportune to have their children back, it's a sort of mixed emotion, mixed reaction. They were happy, they were not happy, because of the sense of togetherness, sense of brotherhood and sisterhood that they have in the community. They share virtually same culture. Everything is virtually same in the community. So the coming of others is a sort of happy moment for the families. But then the situation they are in is a very sorry state, because when I speak to them, particularly Ladi Lawan Zanna, who I interviewed when I went to Chibok, she said her tears have already dried up. She can no longer shed tears. And this is to tell you the magnitude of the situation and how the families are battling with this situation. And the situation is just unexplainable. I don't know. I don't have any word to describe the situation, but then the people down there are in a very sorry state, and they actually require a lot of things, if not because of the community are resilient and the people are resilient too. The situation might have been something else, because available data for now shows that about 48 of the parents, some of the parents died due to an emergency health ailment called stroke. And some of them who are still alive, the situation is something else, because when they are telling you their own part of the stories, it will move you to tears. It makes somebody to shed tears.
Yeah.
This is the situation, and most importantly, what they are advocating for is the safe return of their children. The sense of optimism in them is actually good. They are in high spirit. They are hopeful that one day they will see their children. That is the situation, and that is their hope, and that is what many people are saying down here.
Umaru, I can only imagine what it's like for the families as well. 10 years is a long time to even die, and of course, a long time waiting to have your children back home. I mean, let's turn to you. You are right there at the heart of it for Amnesty International, and we understand that you also do have a report as well to sort of mark the 10-year anniversary. Can you tell us a bit about the report from Amnesty International? Just give us more insight on the data.
Once again, thank you very much. And as you rightly said, for quite some time, we've dedicated our time to, thoroughly reinvestigate, these issues, which have been on, since 2014, when these girls were abducted. And year in, year out, Amnesty International has issued press releases, call to security agents and the Nigerian government itself, to do the needful to secure the release of the remaining girls that are in captivity, and most of the time, after that first time effort by the civil society organizations and indeed, Amnesty International and, the effort of the government, to negotiate and release the first batch of the girls. Since then, what we saw was the occasional escape of the girls. Either they have gone to fetch water, collect firewood or some activity of that sort. And then, they find their way out of that place. Few of the girls were recovered, by that, through that way. But the main concern is that this year's findings, 10 years after their captivity, is the unfortunate situation that their loved ones and families and parents, have found themselves. And the imagination of what these remaining girls are actually going through. We've spoken with a number of the girls that have been released. We've been speaking with them ever since they have been released. And it's the same story that where the condition which they have been subjected to since their captivity, it was really horrific and, unimaginable. They've undergone different kinds of humiliations, torture, deprivations. Their lives were brutalized. Sometimes they try to speak. They don't want to open up, very much out of the fear that, they might be recaptured or some consequences might follow, their interviews. I have spoken to a girl who told me that, she doesn't want to tell me much because many a times after their interview with people, they don't feel secure. They get threat messages and so on. So this tells you that it's a double-edged thing, experience. There's a lot that is going that we still don't know because they don't want to release out of. But since 2015, we've seen a number of horrific attack, on education of which underlines the methodology of the Boko Haram in great scale. The depravity in terms of the way that they are brutalized, the killings, unreported ones most of the time, weaponization of the girls even for many reasons by the Boko Haram.
Okay,
sexual exploitation.
I wanted to ask one question now. In the instances of abductions, and when it comes to the interest of international bodies, what are the responses that we've gotten from them, one? And then two, are they Is there any, perhaps maybe more that they can do when it comes to aiding Nigeria in these instances of abductions? And by extension, I'm also going to be asking Opeyemi here in the studio as well, but what are international bodies doing to aid Nigeria?
Well, initially, the government under the Buhari administration, because of the pressure by civil society organizations and other, concerned individuals, had actually, like I told you, negotiated to secure the release of these girls. But ever since then, it was just like, shouting in the airs of the deaf. Various calls have been made to the Nigerian government because what many people don't understand is that it's not just about Boko Haram. It's the responsibility of the Nigerian government, to protect, these children, to even prevent their captivity, and where they are taken by the Boko Haram. It's the responsibility of the Nigerian government to secure their release. That's why, we in Amnesty have, made different efforts through different means, engaged Borno State Government, engaged the Nigerian military, engaged the Nigerian government, made calls, made submissions to the Nigerian legislature. But we are seeing very little or even no progress in terms of the securing the release of these children. And this is actually now the concern, because it seems that, the society is beginning to forget, if not for the efforts, of different civil society organizations. The society is even beginning to forget that these girls are still being held by the Boko Haram. And this is a cause for concern, because we constantly we ask this question. We ask the Nigerian government, provide explanation. What are you doing?
All right.
What is really going on now, and what promises are you going to make to Nigerians in terms of the return of this?
Okay, then let me turn to Opeyemi, who's here with us now. Opeyemi, regarding that question, the international bodies, and like Aminu has said, it often comes off like perhaps maybe it's just suggestions that they suggest. Are there any tangible, any real reactions, real help or aid that they have given since the abduction 10 years since?
The question is, what can they do? And the context is Nigeria is a sovereign nation. I can only help the person who wants to be helped and who's clear about what they're doing. And as Aminu said, what we've seen is a lack of sincerity, I think, on the part of the Nigerian government in really not just about the Chibok girls, but dealing with insecurity in Nigeria. Okay. If people continue to abduct and what we do is negotiate, they take them back, nobody's prosecuted, obviously you're saying it's okay. So I don't know what international community will do in a country where we're, by our body language, saying that it's okay to kidnap your citizens. Okay. But in terms of tangible things, for the 21 and 82 that were returned, it was through negotiation with the Red Cross and the Swiss government that helped. So we've seen international bodies engage when they've been invited
engage,
to.
That's the word.
And for the missing persons register, it was also in consultation with the Red Cross, Swiss government, and I think 2 other bodies who gave funding for that pilot, for the study around what a missing persons register would look like in Nigeria. Okay. And I think that's a good example. So when it was now time to fund it, to implement, when they've now turned to the Nigerian government, okay, we've helped you fund the research, we've done the templates, the framework, let's see how it works. Then the Nigerian government is now unwilling to fund. Do we want an international body to fund our missing persons register?
Good question.
And also, let's take a look at our education system, right? It's very important to note that this attack happened in a school. And a girls' school. I'm very passionate about education literacy as well especially when it comes to our girls and women, right? And at the cusp of seeing more girls going to school, attending schools, being able to shed the limitations of culture, tradition, and religion as well. They were in school. And what we've seen after that has now been more and more and more attacks, especially on our education. I want for you to speak on that as well. And I also like for Umaru there to also talk about that. And are the girls also returning back to school in the community? Are they going back to school? But let me start with you, Opeyemi.
It's very important, and we've seen it with several of the abductions where parents will say their children are no longer going back to school. Nigeria signed up to the Safe School initiative that we're not implementing. So a lot of schools are literally sitting ducks for anyone who wants to go in and pick up students. And it is a challenge. But the girls that have come back, American University of Nigeria in Yola gave quite a number of them scholarships. Quite a number of them were there. A number of them started but dropped out because, again, there were challenges with funding, support, stipends, and also just schooling. Academic work is not easy. And so not having kind of dealt with the journey, some of them just chose not to do schooling anymore and are doing vocational training. The 16 that are with the Borno State Government at the moment, for example, are just learning basic literacy and business management so they can, with their vocational skills, so they can work and earn income on their own. So it's shifted that dynamic quite significantly, you're right. And so when the messaging is that we're not, as a nation, being intentional about protecting our schools is a problem. And secondly, Chibok, the school in Chibok that was attacked, I understand the contract to rebuild it has been given multiple times over. It's been rebuilt, but with substandard materials. So the school does not have light, does not have water, does not have ICT facilities, does not have a lab. So even in government's response to that, I mean, the school should be like a beacon of this is what schooling,
resilience.
Yes. And this is what schooling looks like. So people should want to go into that school. But the school is almost literally a shadow of itself. So it is a challenge.
Umaru, let me turn to you, Umaru. You're right there in Maiduguri, and you've visited Chibok, the town itself. What's it like? Are the parents ready to take the children back to school? Are they what is it when it comes to their willingness to education?
Yeah. Based on my conversation with them, yes, they have that spirit that educating their children remains a priority that will never be relegated to the background. Even right now, I speak to you, students go to the school that was headed to this scenario happened. But natural, the issue of boarding school is becoming something else because children no longer sleep in that school, and most of the parents, because of that fear of abduction, are not interested in boarding school. But even some of the girls that were rescued, like Naomi Adamu, whom I spoke with, she told me that her dream now is to get something doing to send her children to school, to support her husband, and so on and so forth.
That's very encouraging.
Yeah, yes.
Now, I want to ask Aminu now. Aminu, in the investigations by Amnesty International, are there any unscrupulous interests, maybe unseen in the instances recorded? And if so, are we lacking as a nation in bringing those people, those interests to book? If we found any?
Well, actually, as you are aware, there's been the consistent call by Amnesty International and indeed other, concerned citizens and organizations on the need to, thoroughly and properly investigate these cases of mass school abductions, because it's becoming, too rampant to accommodate. And we've asked a number of questions: that who are these people? Where are they from? And has any investigation ever been conducted? If yes, where is the report? And if there is any findings, what is the government doing about that? Because these are questions that if you don't address them, it will continue, this problem will continue to linger in the Nigerian polity as long as we live. And the problem is that, the unfortunate situation where children are increasingly losing appetite for schooling, especially in northern Nigeria. This is what we're seeing because of this perceived lack of government's commitment to bring to book the perpetrators of this, mass school abduction. It's becoming, a business for the abductors. We've seen, just after the Kuriga, some school children in Katsina were kidnapped and eventually released.
All
That
right.
tells you that whenever they need money, it's an industry where they just wait when the money which they have with them and the resources are getting exhausted. They just look around and see which school is next to them, and
That
then
is true.
the next
That is
thing
true.
that because of the
That's true.
protection of the girls in those schools.
All right.
We want to say thank you so much for coming, and we appreciate you for doing this with us, as well as Umaru Kirawa, who's our correspondent live at Maiduguri, there, Borno, and also to you, Aminu Hayatu, who is conflict and crisis researcher, Amnesty International, and also to you, Okoyemi, as well. Thank you so much, ladies, for coming on. And that's all we can take at this time. But stick around. Coming up next is the news.
We shall not rest on our oars until the last of our innocent girls are back home with their families. On this auspicious occasion of the 10th anniversary of the abduction of Chibok girls, the Borno State Government identifies with all those who are affected by the abduction. The government wishes to inform the public that we will continue to identify and commiserate with the parents and relatives of the Chibok girls who are still in captivity, while we work assiduously on the rehabilitation of those who have been rescued.
As a government, we are concerned with their welfare. We provide them security. Anything that affects their life, we do so.
Hello and welcome to news here on Breakfast Extra. I am Adebola Adirba. Let's begin in Nigeria, West Africa, where organized labor comprising the Nigerian Labour Congress and Trade Union Congress has demanded 615,000 naira as a new minimum wage for workers in the country. An executive of organized labor who did not want to be named because he was not authorized to speak on the matter said that the new wage of 615,000 naira monthly was reached after consultations by the NLC and TUC. The source was a member of one of the subcommittees set up by the government to work on getting a new minimum wage for the country, however said the wage might still increase following the recent hike in electricity tariff. The federal government says about 85% of Nigerians are still enjoying the electricity subsidy in the country, despite the over 1 trillion naira that will be saved from the fresh tariff hike. He said this in response to continued reactions from Nigerians about the increment in electricity tariff recently announced for Band A customers by the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission. The NEC had on April 3rd announced the tariff increments for Band A power consumers from 68 to 225 naira per kilowatt per hour with immediate effect. The regulator had said the new tariff signaled the removal of electricity subsidy for Band A consumers, who constitute about 15% of the total number of power users across the country. Meanwhile, the National Union of Electricity Employees, NUE, has asked the federal government to withdraw the new increase of tariff, saying it will push the price of goods upwards and affect the poor. Recall that the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NEC, had on April 3rd increased electricity tariff for customers enjoying 20 hours of power supply daily, who are said to be under the Band A classification. With the tariff increase, these customers are paying 225 naira kilowatts per hour from the current 66 naira. In a letter to the Minister of Power, NUE described the increase as absurd for a country already facing steep increases in prices of goods and services, while calling for withdrawal of the new tariff as it would not be beneficial to Nigerians. NUE said the safety of its members was at stake and at risk of being attacked by people in the community when they visit for disconnections. The National Identity Management Commission says the new National Identity Card is a single multi-purpose card and not 3 separate cards. The head of corporate communications at NIMC, Kayode Adegoke, disclosed this. On April 5th, the Commission announced that it had collaborated with the Central Bank of Nigeria and the Nigeria Interbank Settlement System to launch a new card with payment functionality for all types of social and financial services. According to NIMC, the new national ID card is single, convenient, and general multi-purpose card, eliminating the need for multiple cards, not 3. The NIMC adds that a single general multipurpose national payments card has multiple use cases that includes payment and financial, government intervention and services, travel, among other uses. Troops of the Joint Task Force Northwest Operation Hadar in Daji have killed several bandits and recovered some weapons and assets. The OPHD's information officer, Suleiman Omale, said the development was part of a continued offensive against extremists. He said in a subsequent mop-up patrol, the gallant troops recovered significant weapons and assets from the scene, including one AK-47 rifle, one magazine, 2 rounds of 7.62 mm special ammunition, and one locally made gun and one Dane gun, as well as 18 cows. He stated that 10 motorcycles belonging to the terrorists were recovered and destroyed on the spot. The abduction of over 270 school girls in Chibok in Borno State, northeast Nigeria in 2014 shook the world and brought attention to the threat of Boko Haram in the region. 10 years after, News Central's Umaru Kirawa travels down the road to Chibok in search of how the rescued girls and their families and those who still have their daughters in the cold hands of terrorists are coping.
It is a journey of over 290 kilometers from Maiduguri, the Borno State capital, through Konduga, Bama, Goza, Askira Uba to Chibok town. The smile of Naomi Adamu, one of the rescued Chibok School Girls, welcomed us to the town.
Da na gansu kannena na gansu iyayena ina murnan da na zo na gansu da rai ni ina so in samu abun yi tunda mai gidana baya aiki wannan in samu abun yi in zo in tallafa ma yarana in gama musu makaranta.
On April 14, 2014, the town of Chibok in Nigeria experienced a horrifying incident when the Boko Haram stormed Government Girls Secondary School Chibok and left forcefully with 276 of the girls.
10 years after, life seems to have moved on for many. The international rage has disappeared, leaving behind faded hope for the community where dozens of girls who were taken from their homes and family have remained in captivity.
The fundamental problem started from day one, when the government of the day refused to recognize that there was a big problem at hand. And they delayed for almost 2 weeks before it took action.
The Nigerian government's efforts in recent years to locate and rescue some of the abducted girls have been met with both success and challenges, as many families are still in anguish.
Muna kuka domin waɗannan 'yan mata wanda ba su fita ba. Yanzu namu akwai nasu bai fita ba, ba mu ji daɗi ba babana. Yana sa mu hawaye, mun ga iyaye din. Yana sa mu tunani. Mun gaji da jira, mun gaji, mun yi ta kuka, mun gaji, mun yi ta ihu, mun gaji. Har kukan ya ishe mu, ni mutum kamar ni yanzu ko rasuwa ne aka yi banna sake kuka. Domin kukan ya ishe ni. Ni da nama ba zai kara fitar da hawaye ba.
Around 90 of the abducted girls are still unaccounted for.
Government should make life beautiful, should make life lovely, should provide job opportunity for our teeming youth in order to prevent future occurrence of such abduction.
The social media campaign #BringBackOurGirls campaign has been one of the strongest voice advocating for the girls' safe return.
So we are calling on government to use technology into it. Secondly, we are also calling on government to take into confidence the community leaders, the people in the community, to share information with them.
Available data shows that 48 of the parents have passed away. The primary cause of their deaths were reported to have been a medical emergency called stroke, which is directly connected to excessive mental pressure.
The loss of my baby have made me something different. I have a scam on me that the wound have not even healed. And that scam, I think, till death. Maybe that scam will lead me to death, I don't know. The thing is that my life is with God. That's why I'm breathing with Him. If not, if from my own heart, I would have been dead by now.
Over 1,600 students have been abducted from their school in different states within the country. Some rescued, others still in captivity, among who Leah Sharibu is a sad reminder.
Despite the passage of time, The pain of those dark days remain obvious in Chibok and beyond. Families of the abducted girls hold on to hope as they await news of their loved ones, praying for their safe return. In Chibok for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
Welcome back. Now, on the topic, the Minister of Works, David Umahi, has said that the compensation process for property owners along the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway route will be based on the federal government's approval rates or approved rates. The 700-kilometer Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway project is designed to connect Lagos to Cross River, passing through the coastal states of Ogun, Ondo, Delta, Edo, Bayelsa rivers, and Akwa Ibom before culminating in Cross River. The pilot phase has started from the Eco-Atlantic and is expected to terminate at the Lekki Deep Seaport in Lagos State. To this effect, the Lagos State Government earlier announced plans to start demolishing all illegal structures and constructions along the planned route of the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway, serving removal notices to the owners of the affected physical structures and other properties within the category. One of the businesses affected is Landmark Group.
That's a demolition warning by the state government will serve to the proprietor of Landmark Beach Resort, a leading tourism spot at business. The CEO, Paul Owonubi, says it is worth over $200 million, accommodates more than 80 businesses and sustains over 4,000 jobs directly, contributing 2 billion naira in taxes each year. Now, with the possible demolition drawing closer every day, what becomes of the beach resort and the thousands of workers who may be out of a job soon is yet to be known. And we spoke to Samuel Oyediran. He is an employee at Island Breeze at Landmark Beach, and here's what he had to say. We'll bring you that coming shortly.
Yes, indeed.
And now let's talk to the business owners at the beachfront who are at risk of losing their livelihood and investments as well. And joining us to do that is Kemi Oshunibi. She is the CEO, Max Activity Family Entertainment Center. Kemi, it's good to have you join me on the show today.
Same.
Also joining us on the conversation is Atibi Basi, Director Leisure and Hospitality Landmark Group, and Adewale Aderogba, Founder Vitality Leisure Group. Mr. Aderogba is here with us in the studio, and Atibi is joining us via Zoom. Welcome, gentlemen.
And also welcome to you, lady. Thank you so much for coming on. Kemi, I'm going to start with you, right? I did say that I'm very excited to have you here because I've heard about your story and I'd like for you to share with us. So could you please share with us your business story and how you've been coping with the news of a possible demolition?
Thanks. It's really wonderful to be here. My story is, my passion is families and children, and bringing together families to be able to have fun. And that's why I created Maxtivity. And we were originally at Circle Mall for about 4 years before the NSARS, which resulted in us being looted and burnt down, and Circle Mall closed. And it took me a year to get the insurance money. And of course, since I'd gone through that, I looked for a tourism location that would definitely assure I would not have something like that occur again. And that's why I chose Landmark. I was sure that something like this could not happen. So I am totally devastated again. Barely 2 years in, our investment has not even been totally paid up. And I employ people and families. I employ about 27 people. They feed about 8 people on average. I had to tell them the news, and it's been devastating. Their mood, their outlook in this current, cost of living crisis. Yeah. I am devastated. It's very difficult to find this type of facility, tourism, and most importantly, to be able to provide a place that families can go to have fun.
Well, we were going to bring you a little detail on the situation. Let's take that right now. When we get back, we'll be joining our guests here and asking them some more questions.
breaks down everyone's spirit. So personally, as an individual, it has actually been demoralizing, knowing fully well that if this project continues this way with the plan that it's put in place, it simply means that most people actually have to lose their jobs and have to start from somewhere else. People depending on one another, means of livelihood will be gone. Dependents relative as well that are depending on one or two persons for means of livelihood will be gone.
Back here in the studio, Mr. Adirogba, I would like to ask you this question. Now, you're an investor when it comes to the businesses and also a representative of most of the businesses there. I want to ask, what are the business or the business community along the corridor? How are they reacting to this possible demolition?
Well, thank you for the question. Well, as we've heard already, virtually everybody who has brought money in. I mean, when Landmark started, I represent the 40 businesses on the beach.
40, did you say?
There are 40 businesses on the beach. There are 40 businesses on the beach, all independent entrepreneurs. Most of them, actually, about 50% of them are first-time investors, first-time business people who, like Mrs. Oshinobi, came in because they saw this environment which had been created by Landmark. We are the anchor tenants, actually. I represent 8 of the large group of investors. We put in several, we employ about 600 people altogether, the 8 large businesses. So they're the big businesses and then there are the kiosks. And everybody's devastated, as you can imagine. The amounts of effort that has been put in to create what I call an icon. Landmark is a beacon, actually, of hope, of expectation for people. A lot of my investors, a lot of my partners are diaspora people who, have gone abroad and, had professional careers like myself and brought a large amount of their savings, of their life's work into Nigeria, and want to invest. I want to be part of the success story that is Nigeria. And it's not a good story at all to see that all about to disappear. Nigeria is open for business, we've heard, but this doesn't encourage that at all.
I can only imagine. Earlier on, the video that you watched was from Samuel Oyederon, who is a manager at one of the small businesses clusters around there, which is part of the 40 businesses that Adewale just highlighted. Now, let me turn to you, Atibi, right? Atibi, you are the Director of Leisure and Hospitality at Landmark Group, which is an essential arm of the company when it comes to revenue and services as well. How has the past few weeks been like for the company? And can you help us understand exactly what would be lost if the demolition occurs when it comes to Landmark Group in and of itself as a company?
Okay, thank you very much for the question. I would say that it's been tough for us as an organization, not just us directly, but a lot of the 40 businesses that Mr. Aderoba also mentioned, because this is people's life investments in this location. These are people's jobs at stake. These are people's dependents at stake. So for the business, for the staff, for everybody, it's been tough for us, even for the larger Landmark, because we have investors, we have financiers, you have different people that support and drive the business. So it's not necessarily been an easy journey for us. But and if this continues, it will have a significant negative impact to the Landmark business as a whole, and also to the outlook and future of tourism, not just in Lagos, but across Nigeria and West Africa.
Now, Atibi, we hear that there was an initial right of way. So could you update us on the discussions between the company and the government regarding that, the rerouting of the highway to the initial right of way, which is what we hear, Water Corporation Road?
Yes, so when we acquired this property in 2007, we are aware that there's a coastal route. And to put it clear, Landmark is in support of the federal government developing and establishing a coastal route. Coastal roads are meant to enhance and drive tourism. So the initial right of way, based on our understanding now, it was meant to go through the Water Corporation route. And in doing that, it enhances all of the businesses and the beach resorts within that stretch. Quite recently, there's been an amendment to adjust that right of way to Landmark, right? And through Landmark, and the impact of that will be destroying what I would consider the #1 leisure and tourism business in West Africa. So our push has been consistent that preserve landmark. If you're trying to boost tourism, there's no point in destroying tourism while trying to boost tourism. As an anchor tourism destination, this should be our focus and that of the government.
Right. We understand that the Minister of Works, David Umahi, stated that President Bola Tinubu has approved compensation for affected property owners with environmental impact assessment valuation completed on affected buildings. However, owners of shanties and illegal structures will not be compensated. I want to get all three of you thoughts on this, right? What are your thoughts on this, and do you believe that this is sufficient when it comes to compensation? I know for you three, compensation is not on the table, but Kemi, let me start with you, ladies first. If they decide to say, look, we're not rerouting, we're going to compensate you, is compensation, even in the trillions of naira, ever enough to replace it?
No.
No.
The mental stress to even if you have the compensation, where would we find the opportunity to create the location? The location is the unique selling point for our business, for families, for children. Where would they go? Well, where would we have the opportunity to provide this experience again? So it's for me, it's not about compensation. For me, it's about we want to do business. We want our children to have the opportunity. We want families to have a place to go.
Yeah.
I believe that is priceless. There is no compensation that can compensate for that.
I don't know what it is, but you make it such an emotional...
It's a passionate, I think it's a passionate project for you.
I'm almost in tears here. And
I was at her business. It's Maxitivity, right? I was there yesterday. And she has an official Lego store there.
I've been there.
Now you know what I'm talking about.
No.
So it's a playground, it's a playpen. The kids coming, they're jumping.
Beautiful.
It's beautiful to behold as well. And then to see it pull down. And right in the building, there's also the marker where the bulldozers will be pulling down the building. If our guys there can be able to play that for us, Maxitivity, the marker they're showing.
Now, I wanted to go back to you, Mr. Adiroba. Now, I've been to the Gambia, and I know the Gambia has absolutely, perhaps nothing more to give but tourism. That tourism comes from their long beach line, the coastal line, which they've given businesses, hotels, all they need, all the facility they need to bring people into the Gambia and enjoy these pleasure spots. What do we stand to lose as Nigeria if this coastal road takes this path and destroys these businesses?
Well, there are obviously the tangibles, which is immediate loss of income for thousands of people, immediate loss of facilities for hundreds of thousands, 600,000 people come through the 8 businesses that I represent. Lots of them families, but every evening you see groups of young men and even older men. I play football sometimes too. On our 5-a-side court, on the lifestyle that promotes health and well-being. That's all lost, and that's not being replaced in any way. But more importantly, and often the intangibles are what matters most. They last longer. The loss of the confidence in people to come and invest in Nigeria, that's one. Secondly, there's always been this narrative that Nigerians are not good at operating hospitality things. It's usually our Lebanese and Indian brothers who know how to do this thing. Landmark dispels all of that. Yes. And I tell you that there are several businesses that have mimicked, they say copying is the greatest form of flattery. So many businesses have popped up after Landmark. Modeled after it. I was in Akure just finally 2 weeks ago, and I found somebody, a business that had dubbed us Vitality's sports facilities with a bit of hospitality on the side, and there are several. And this disappearing basically just is a severe knock on that progress.
Very sad.
Utibe, let's also turn to you as well. Utibe, you are at the very core and center when it comes to Landmark Beach Resort. If the demolition proceeds, what is the future of Landmark Beach Resort, especially resorts there on there? You are going to lose your waterfront, hence the resort is gone. Can the company pivot? And the question is, can it be done successfully?
I'll say it's going to be very tough because the beach resort is an integral part of the landmark ecosystem. It's the bedrock of our hospitality, and it's basically what defines us as an organization. So in a case whereby the beach resort is taken down, it will significantly affect our business. It would also affect some of the existing projects and businesses that we have created. Even the outlook for future businesses, future projects, it would significantly dent that outlook for us. So our focus has been consistent. This should be preserved because of the 4,000 direct jobs that are here, because of the 600,000 people that come here every year, because of all the opportunities and all the dependents. This is an opportunity. This is the largest tourism destination in West Africa. So it's taking down the landmark resort is fundamentally going to harm our business. And so, which is why we've been consistent in our focus on this has to be preserved. Not just, again, like I always say, not just for landmark, but for the future of leisure, tourism, and hospitality in West Africa.
Atibi, many thanks for coming on. We appreciate you for doing this with us, and also to you, ladies and gentlemen. I do understand that there's going to be a panel that will be set up. We'll see in the next couple of days how this will continue to unfold. But there are footages that I saw right there at the beach where it's already been sand-filled, and the beach is slowly drying out, and I only worry what the future is. And that's all that we can take on this interview.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank
you very much. Thank you. And also many thanks to you, Atibi, as well. Stick around. Many more coming up right here on Breakfast Extra. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back. Now, residents and traders of the Dosumu Market area in Lagos Island are not smiling, especially since the market has been closed down and expected demolitions are to continue. We talked about this yesterday with our reporter who was on ground while the fire that raged last week happened, and we got her very interesting eyewitness view on most of the happenings there. I don't know, Judith, I mean, first off, like I said yesterday, very sad situation going on regarding this market closure. I'm always thinking on the side of people, what they are going to lose, the traders, their families and all. Like our previous guest said, it's not just the actual instance. There are instances behind what their families are going to go through by extension. It's quite sad, if you ask.
It's very sad indeed, and honestly, I think that it's time for the government to also pay mind into this, into the markets as well. It's not just Lagos Island and Dosumu Market. When you think about the markets and extension as well across Lagos State, we're going to see more clusters like this, and we're in the dry months where the fires, there's going to be environmental factors.
Exactly.
And also we understand that the fire has been raging for a while. It kept going on for at least 3 days, and now there's now been more cleanups. So there's going to be more cleanups on those rubbles that have been pulled down. And I look forward to see what will happen in the coming weeks as regards to that.
Many have said perhaps maybe it's now time to go the route of the Tejo Show ultra-modern market, where you bring down what's old and put something else this year.
Well, we do have our correspondent live at Dosumu Market now, and he's going to join us live in the studio. And he is right there at the scene of the fire, where cleanup is now ongoing for all the demolition, and that is Marshall Ononaya. Marshall, are you there? Can you hear us live?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? I hope you can.
Loud and clear, Matthew. You are very loud and clear. Matthew, give us an update on the demolition and the cleanup going on now at Dosumu Market. We understand that the fire was raging for 3 days, and there was a demolition of 14 buildings. Is it still at 14, or has the numbers of the buildings increased?
Well, the fire is still raging, because you said you heard the fire was raging for 3 days. It is still not necessarily a rage or an inferno, but it is still catching up with some other places that were not originally caught up in the fire from the first day. And we were here on Friday, which was day 3 of the fire, and we still saw some buildings that were not also covered on the first day that were that the fire caught up with. And here currently we still have pockets of fires, here and there. We'll be showing you as we proceed, but majorly we've got the LASEMA and the Lagos State Emergency Management Agency carrying out its evacuation and demolition as well. Well, from an investigator investigator point of view, I would have expected that the Lagos State Government would have invited some forensic experts to make a sweep of the area in a bid to actually ascertaining the cause of the fire, because there's still speculation in the rounds whether or not it was an accident or an arson. And like I said, from an investigator point of view, I wouldn't rule out arson totally, except if that was coming from an expert. And I would have expected a team of forensic experts come here and do their due diligence, sweep the area from the point of origination of the fire to other points of escalations, and eventually to the point where it was breached and eventually contained.
Right. Marshal, question, are there any challenges? Why are the fires still raging? Are the responders getting any, meeting up with any challenges currently?
Well, that's something that is equally amazing. As a matter of fact, here at the market scene, at the fire scene, we have a little drain, we have downpour here, and we also still have the fire service still here. And trust me, the fire service, they've done a fantastic job in dampening the buildings that were earlier caught up in the fire. But it begs the question as to why the fire is still raging. Some people say that the stores that were selling here originally at Dosomu had inflammable materials stored somewhere, and that might have been largely responsible for the rage of the fire.
Right. I mean, Marshal, it makes perfect sense to also have such speculations, because we do understand that these buildings are clustered up together, and they also would be hoarding fuel as well as have their generators, which is very highly inflammable. But were you able to speak to any of the officials that were there, say, for example, any of the emergency agencies and even security agents that were there as well? And also, what did they have to say as part of the cleanup?
Well, for the officials of the LASEMA, we've been speaking with them. Like I said, we're here on Friday. We're here on the very first day. We've been covering it as it raged on. And we also had interviews with some of the victims of this fire. What's amazing in my interview with these people, you will find that of the 25 people I spoke with on Friday, not one of them said they had insurance policy cover on their business running. You know, it begs the question as to whether or not Nigerians know the value of insurance, because most of them were appealing to the state government to compensate them and to come to their aid. And usually in incidents like this or situations like this, what we see is these compensations can barely get them to start off or, you know, replace what has been destroyed in the inferno. So yeah, they're hoping that the Lagos State comes to their aid and compensates them. But I would have naturally expected that for businesses running into billions of naira, that these people would have had some level of insurance policy covering their businesses. And it also goes to speak of how the insurance companies too operate. I would have also expected that the insurance companies would have seen this as a huge prospect earlier, to have approached people transacting business here to subscribe to their services.
I mean, Marshal, when you talk about insurance, that's a different conversation entirely, given how as a people we just don't have trust when it comes to the insurance company. So there's that to put into prospect or into perspective when we're talking about insurance and even financial services altogether. There's always fears of, oh, if I insure, I'm not going to get my money back, or if I do this, it's going to take too long. They will send me through many hoops, so to speak. I can only find how difficult it is. Mazino.
Yeah, so Marshal, now we spoke with the Lagos Territorial Zone A coordinator for NEMA yesterday, and he told us that from previous instances from fires at that area, there were trainings for people, traders, so that they would know what to do in these instances of fire. Does anybody you've spoken to, does it seem like they had any sort of training from before this fire last week?
I'll tell you, absolutely not. Now, for the traders, the victims of the fire incident, one question that was majorly thrown at them was the arrangements they had in place for combating incidents like this, and for the answers we were getting was zero. They didn't have fire extinguishers, they didn't have safety measures in place, they didn't even have any form of training at all as to how to go about incidents like this. And of course, you would also know that that was largely responsible for the spread of the fire, despite the fact that the men of the fire service had arrived at the scene of the fire earlier and very quickly on the day the fire started. And so it'll beg the question as to how it eventually raged on and caught up with several other buildings even days after the fire started.
Okay. Is there any hope in the horizon for all the traders there, especially the ones who were caught in the fire? Are they talking to government agencies, perhaps maybe if there's anything that can be done to help them alleviate the situation?
Unfortunately, I'm the wrong person to speak about hope for these people, because from what I see here, feeling their pulse, it is a hopeless situation for them. And you'd imagine that it is one fire too many, because one would have thought that these people must have learned from other fires. For us at News Central, we're hoping to do a comparison between this fire and other fires that have occurred in the past, to see where these people keep getting it wrong. But I'll tell you one thing, it's really, really a sad situation for them. This area here in Dosonu here is a place where, I tell you, barely 6 weeks ago, my wife, who also just delivered a set of twins, had come to patronize a woman who was dealing in baby materials. And when the fire caught up, I came here hoping that I would find her shop still standing, but it is razed down. And when I told my wife, I got home and I told her that shop you patronized 6 weeks ago is all down to rubbles and debris. You know, she was all in tears. And I jokingly, just trying to get her a hold of her, I told her, look, the fire service guys poured more water than you are currently pouring. So
Marshall, that is so unfair to say that. That is literally unfair. But Marshall, congratulations again on the twins. And also, Mazino, I can only imagine, going through that and having to talk to the press men. Seeing the fire continually raging and just going on for days on end, non-stop inside, seeing the buildings being pulled down. You would not want to talk to press.
There's something that he said that I find very interesting. They didn't learn from the fire. Learn from fire. Do you learn from fire? Very interesting. In this case, they should have.
They should have.
In any case, well, we'll keep you updated on all the issues regarding the Dosumu instance, the fire, the demolition, and of course, anything else that comes from there.
Yes, absolutely. Well, in the meantime, this is still Breakfast Extra. If you didn't know our names already, I am Judith Atibi, and here's Mazino Peel.
Thank you very much.
And we'll be bringing you sports up next. Our sports anchor is on standby and ready to go to give you the very best when it comes to world of sports, football, and everything, Premier League and everything in between. Is our news anchor ready for us? Sports anchor, you ready to go?
Favor, go on.
All right, good morning once again. A beautiful Sunday right here in the city of Lagos, Nigeria. It's breakfast, sports on Breakfast Extra, and we have a lot when it comes to the world of sport. And interestingly, it was a fantastic Saturday for Nigeria's man, Frank Onyeka, who got a goal, of course, for Brentford, his first goal of the season. And talking about Frank Onyeka, has been wonderful in the last few weeks, especially at the Nations Cup. He was instrumental in that one that Brentford defeated Sheffield United 2-0 on Saturday. The Nigerian international, of course, made 25 appearances and bagged 2 assists this ongoing season for Brentford. The host opened the goal scoring in the 63rd minute when defender Oliver Balesta deflected an attempted cross past Ivo Grbic and into the bottom right corner of his own net. Onyeka, of course, who had only been substituted on 3 minutes earlier, was found with a brilliant flick by fellow substitute Kevin Shard before hammering the ball into the net with just his second touch. The result sees Brentford finally bringing to an end a lengthy spell of 9 games without victory. Interesting one right there for Frank Onyeka, and he's really doing a lot at the moment, especially after the Nations Cup that Nigeria played in Cote d'Ivoire. Mazino, fantastic one, of course, when you look at what Frank Onyeka is doing They call him, Big Tank. That's his nickname after that Nations Cup.
Particularly looking forward to this. Well, the weekend has ended. Actually,
the week is ended, Jerry.
What was your
highlights? There we go.
The highlights for the week?
Yeah, for the weekend. All the sporting events this weekend. What was the biggest highlight?
All the sporting events that happened during the weekend, well, you want to also look at the games that went down, especially for Manchester City, who took the bull by the horn. They ensured that they took Luton Town to the cleaners to get to the top of the table. That's a big one. Don't forget, Arsenal and Liverpool are still chasing the title, so it's a 3-horse race, and that happens to be at least the biggest of what we had on Saturday and early hours of this morning. But nevertheless, Frank Oyeka also making his name, to be sung right there in Nigerian media. That's talking about the goal he scored, his first goal this season for Brentford, and with what he has done, I think that's also worth talking about. But then let's not also forget Super Eagles forward Siri Desas. He's in the news. He's running for Rangers Goal of the Season award. Rangers is a club right there in Scotland, and he got a goal in the Rangers Europa League 3-2 win at Real Betis, and of course he's a contender for the award alongside others. Now the 29-year-old striker, did score in the 20th minute of the game against Real Betis after receiving a pass from Jose. I mean, he's one of the men who will be looking forward to get this particular one. Don't forget, he was part of the Super Eagles friendly right there in Morocco, and he'll be looking forward to get that particular one. Away from there now to the big one, or the biggest of them this weekend so far. It has to do with Manchester City, where Mateo Kovacic scored a stunner as Manchester City went up of the Premier League table after a 5-1 home win over Luton Town. Now, City led after only 65 seconds at the Etihad Stadium when Erling Haaland's wayward volley hit Luton's Daliki Halshika before flying into the net. Now, it took City more than an hour to double their lead through Mateo Kovacic's sweet rising strike from near the edge of the area. Haaland put the game beyond a doubt with a penalty after Jeremy Doku was fouled by Fred Oyedima. Ross Barkley scored a consolation for the visitors, but City had the final say through brilliant late goals from Doku and Josko Vardiol. I mean, Manchester City right now, they're looking forward to get the league for a second time back-to-back. Don't forget, they are the current champions, and they want to ensure that, they take it up on there. But Arsenal is coming so fast, and they also have a game later today against Aston Villa. Mazino, Judith, this is something to look forward to. Arsenal play today. Liverpool also looking to come back to give Manchester City a chase for the title.
Okay, grand. Thank you very much, Favor. It's good to have you here, and I can tell you're a Manchester City fan. Am I wrong?
I'm not a Manchester City
fan. No, he's
fan.
not.
Oh. Whatever the case, man. Thank you very much for great sports this morning.
Thank you very much.
Right now, let's take a break. We've got more coming your way. It's Breakfast Extra.
You're watching Breakfast Extra right here on News Central TV. This time we're going to take a look at a somber topic as we discuss the recent passing of a Nollywood actor, Junior Pope. Now, his death has sent shockwaves through the industry, prompting a re-evaluation of safety standards on Nollywood sets. And to join us now to discuss and also to explore this tragic event and its implication for the Nigerian film industry, we're joined by Doris Okorie. She is an actress, and also we're also joined by Evelyn John Oda. She's also a producer, a crew member, and actress as well.
Welcome, ladies. Good to have all of you here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Would you like me to start with a question?
Yes, sir.
Very, very excited. Now, I wanted to ask each of you, but following this tragic incident with the unfortunate passing of Junior Pope, which has got everybody saddened, everybody's really sad. There's been a ban on Riverine movie productions, highlighting the need for stricter safety measures in the industry. We want to find out exactly, was there any sort of perhaps maybe consideration given to safety from before now in Nollywood generally? Was there anything at all? Did we have a facility, the capacity even, to have safety measures as a checklist on our or check on our checklist?
On production sets.
Let me ask you, Doris.
Okay, so for me as an actor, I mean, I have crossed the water to go shoot, I think twice, and both times I was protected. I had my safety jacket, and then for the first time it was a local canoe, like what Junior Pope was on,
dugout,
and then the second time it was an actual proper boat that we used, but both times you know, we had on our sets, we had medics, and then we had our life jackets on. So,
so these are considerations that are put in place.
Yes.
But in signing your contract or any of that, are there any terms that you must sign that have to do with safety at all?
Yes. Or even life insurance.
So sometimes the contracts, to be honest, remove productions from any form of
liability.
Incidents that happen. Yes, sometimes, most times you see right there. I mean, Evelyn's a producer, and she draws up most of those contracts as well. So,
Evelyn, you tell us from your own point of view.
Basically, I really do not know what, you know, there is a thing between Asabawood and Nollywood. So I really don't know if they're in the same line with what we do here in Lagos.
Nollywood now.
We know it as Nollywood. But we understand where we're coming from.
Please make us understand as well.
So basically, I don't know the structure, right? Because in every production, there should be a structure. I don't know the structure there in Asaba, what they do, but majority of the structures there that I've heard about, I'm not in line with, you know. But in production, we have like safety measures before you even start, during pre-production. You have to make sure your medic is on set, like an actual practitioner, medical practitioner is on set with you guys. And if you're going to be doing anything that is regarding or that involves water, rivers, or anything, we know that we go extra mile, having a medic on set, but having a lifeguard, having first aid on set, people that are well known to do CPRs, right? And all of that. And the production goes all the way, goes the extra mile to make sure that if I'm going to be shooting at this location and we're going to be using like a ferry or a boat or whatever it is, do you have life jackets? Do you have all of that? So that's the production work. So when the production sees that that location in particular don't have all of that, we provide them. Do we have to buy these things? Do we have to go the extra mile? Because if we're shooting on the roads, we get cones, traffic cones. We literally rent traffic cones because these are safety measures. If you're shooting on the road and people are driving and they don't see these things, they can just assume that nothing is happening and there's some sort of accident.
But these are measures you put in place
Yes.
to produce.
Exactly.
What about
We
the
do.
AG and the Actors Guild of Nigeria? Are there protocols that one must follow as a producer to
And
ensure?
how do they even enforce it to begin with? That's very important because we've seen situations again and time again, especially with Nollywood. Because Hollywood is is pretty much the standard, you know, in terms of best practices for the industry. So how then does AGN enforce it? Because this, I mean, some persons are arguing that the press release that they gave on the production and the producer, Miss Luke, is somewhat reactionary, given what has happened. That there should have been some sort of enforcement that even when they're not there, it is strictly abide by this rule or no production at all.
Okay, so regarding that, it's a bit dicey because there is a guild, but at the same time, we are not really seeing the impact of the guild in the industry as a whole. Yes, there might be sectors where they are working, but if you ask the majority creative in the industry that, do you know about a guild? A lot of them will tell you no. Because if there is a guild, there are like procedures, there are like protocols, there are like rules and regulations that you should be aware of even before you enter into the industry. So you're coming into the industry and like, oh, this is what we do. We don't collect this certain amount. You have to have this. There will be a protocol officer that will come to every production to make sure that everything that is supposed to be in line with the guild's rules and regulation is in check. But we don't have all of that. We have independent producers that are doing things that are also probably from what they've learned in film school, you know, and trying to fine-tune all of those things to make sure everybody is in accordance, right, with the things that they've learned. To make sure their name, the production name as well, is not being tainted. But if the guild is not really present as much, and we just all of a sudden, because one tragedy just happened, you're like everywhere, we're seeing you, and we're like, where have you people been? Where is the guild?
So you're saying that the guild oftentimes is just, in a lack of a better word, is just a name.
It's just a name. Yeah.
A lot of people in the creative don't even know about these things. So you get a lot of questions like, what's the Actors Guild about? Where have you people been? What do we do there?
Yes.
Do we have Producers Guild? Do we have Directors Guild?
Interesting. Because when you see in Hollywood as well, the Screen Association, SAG, they were standard when it comes to, you know, fighting for what was right for them in terms of the residual paid checks on works that they've done before. And there was no Oscar, I think it was last year or 2 years ago, until something had to be done. And you saw all actors, big names and even up and coming and even indie actors, and as well as producers walking off set because of the strikes. So you're telling me that AGN doesn't have that much clout as there is no perceived to be.
Like I would say.
Doris wants to say something.
Yeah,
Doris, you finish.
I would say that there is no force. There can be a force, right, and it's not really visible. But when there is an actual force, where there are protocols, there's an order. You don't start a production if they've not fact-checked everything that you're supposed to do during pre-production.
Tell you what, Doris, while you are responding to that, there's also something I wanted to ask regarding the instance of Junior Pope's death now. Regarding the way information was managed, I'm asking you as an actor, the way information was managed and also the instance itself. Could there have been anything done better regarding information management and that instance? What could have been done better?
Well, for me, I just feel like the entire thing was just handled poorly. Seeing that, I mean, people in power were the ones who even leaked the video of this man's corpse. It was
in a very bad way.
It was bad. It was really bad. Now, in terms of communication, at some point, we were not even sure what was going on. There was a lot happening. When the news first broke, I was like, I hope this is some form of clout to get the movie out there. I just hope. And then we hear he's alive. We were not even sure what was going on. So I feel like social media is great, but as a body, to be honest, like she said, we have the Asaba wood, right? And I wouldn't necessarily, because I read comments and people go on to say, oh, but this movie wasn't shot in Asaba, they shoot in Enugu, they shoot in Anambra, they shoot in Imo State. Fine, but they've tagged it as Asaba wood. I feel like they have more of the AGN attention, to be honest. I'm speaking as an actor because I know that a few times when I started out, you know, I've been to auditions where they'll say to register. But I never was interested.
Yeah, then there is that.
Yes,
you have to register to be in a movie.
Yes, you have to register. You have to register to be in the guild. Oh, in the guild, right? Okay. And then sometimes, in some instances, you have to pay to be in a movie. I don't see how that.
Why? How does that make sense?
I don't see how that works for me. Do you understand? I don't see how that works.
I mean, Judith, you understand what I'm saying? We have to pay to be on this show.
Yeah, like you have to pay. Like,
you do have to pay me to be on it.
Yeah, well, so, you know, it's just wild that you have a body, and I feel like the best people that could have gotten the proper information to pass should have been them. Yeah. Right. And not just random people. Yeah. There was a video that leaked yesterday of somebody making a video of the corpse in a
flatbed.
And then there was somebody above making a video of the person who was making a video.
It's look, it's sad and wild as well. And I would also argue that social media and our use of social media and how it has altered our brains and how we use it also affects what we see in terms of trends and how news is broken, right? But you're an actress, and you were once an actress and now a producer. The two of you understand it from an actor's point of view, working in big productions, small productions, free-to-air productions as well as that, and YouTube. You also have worked as producer. I want you to talk about the hidden wrongs of this industry and the ecosystem that doesn't meet the eye, that we don't see, that the struggles that you have, that AGN may not be able to fix or can be able to fix, but are unable to fix, as well as those small things that are of his own cause because of the powers that be.
So safety as an actor is number one. You see, sometimes we get call times for 7, 8, 9, and then we get to shoot until 12. I've shot 24 hours before, 6 a.m. to 6 a.m. the very next day. It's normal. It's bad, but it's normal. It's not strange. So you shoot into 3 a.m. and there is no provision for you where you'd sleep, how you get home. That is just really it's ridiculous. There are some producers I really have to applaud, where once they see that this production is going to go into the night, they are already prepping. Evelyn is one of those people. Once she's seen that, oh, it's looking like this is going to be...
Do you want to mention any names that are not considerate at all?
Well...
Mention names. Name the names.
To be honest, I wouldn't... Because, of course, sometimes we have like an entire hierarchy. There's the EP who brings the money. Okay. Then there is like the line
so you can't mention names.
Well, because at the end of the day... No, to be honest, at the end of the day, the line producer might be human to say, yo, Doris cannot go back home. It's late. And put a call through. And then the EP will say, see, there's no money for that. There's no budget for that. So you can't really point at anyone, to be very honest. So I would not want to say, oh, this production. I can only categorically say that this person looked out for me. I can now mention those names.
Doris and of course Evelyn, thank you ladies for
Thank you ladies for coming on. We do appreciate for you guys coming on, and I've been watching you. I cannot wait for more to come when it comes to all that you've been doing. Well done. And also to Evelyn, you as well. And we've been talking about safety measures when it comes to Nollywood and all that happens on the sets there. Our guest today has been Doris Okore, Nollywood actor, and Evelyn John Oda, Nollywood producer and actor. My name is Judith Atibi. Coming up next is more. Stay with us, don't go anywhere. And you're welcome back. It's time for Wellness Central, is our little segment inside of Breakfast Extra that's dedicated to focusing on general well-being.
Yes, indeed. Now, on Wellness Central, we cover a wide range of topics related to physical, mental, and also emotional well-being. And today on the segment, we are raising awareness on Parkinson's disease.
Yes, indeed. And we won't be doing just that alone. We're going to be joined in the studio by two of our guests. One of them is John Akinola. He's the Senior Programs Manager at Adewumi Desalu Parkinson's Foundation. We're also joined by a Parkinson's advocate, and that's Empress Priscilla. She's also a member of the Adewumi Desalu Parkinson's Foundation. Lady and gentlemen, thank you so
very much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
First off, let's get to understand exactly, and of course our viewers out there would like to know, what Parkinson's disease really is.
Okay, thank you very much. Parkinson's disease is a neurodegenerative disease. It affects the brain. By that I mean there is a substance in the brain we call the dopamine. The cells in the brain produce this dopamine. And once the cells start reducing the production of dopamine, some of these symptoms of Parkinson's start setting in. So there are so many characteristics of Parkinson's. By that I mean symptoms, motor symptoms and non-motor symptoms. And the motor symptoms could be slowness in movement, shaking of hands, stoop posture, lack of facial expression. It could be non-motor symptoms could be what's the name? Sorry, please. Okay.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah,
constipation. You can skip that, we'll come to you.
Yeah, constipation. It could be constipation. You could have anxiety, depression.
And all these at the onset of the disease. The onset.
Yeah.
Okay.
Empress, you are an advocate and you also are a person who's living with Parkinson's disease. Yes. I want you to tell me about your story. How did you? What was the journey like to getting diagnosed? Because I know that it takes a long time to even know what the symptoms are to begin with before you get a diagnosis, especially in Nigeria.
At first, it's very difficult to get diagnosed if you are in the wrong place, in the wrong environment. I mean, I started going to the hospital on time, but they never diagnosed me of Parkinson's. Some of them asked me to run some tests, which I didn't, which never resulted to them finding out it was Parkinson's. It took me 1 year and 8 months before I was later diagnosed that it was Parkinson's. One challenge we have with this medical condition is getting the right diagnosis. I quickly started visiting General Hospital, but they never saw it as Parkinson's. I ran tests, I did so many things. No one thought it was Parkinson's. Only till I was referred to Ikeja Hospital. That was where I was asked to go and run another test again, which I didn't even bother to do. I was later asked to go back to my state because I was getting depressed, getting suicidal. Everything was just turning upside down. I couldn't brush my teeth by myself. I couldn't stir my food in the pot. I couldn't bathe myself very well. I couldn't keep the house clean. All my daily chores, I couldn't do them the way I used to before. I couldn't work. I lost my job. I was advised to go back home to my family so I can have people around me. Then someone asked me to meet a doctor, a neurologist, who is Dr. Imariagbe of FEM Diagnostics in Benin City. He saw me, asked me to go for a brain scan. I did the brain scan. He did physical examination on me and discovered that it was Parkinson's. I was a bit relieved because at least it's something I can manage. It's not something that does not have medication. It's not something that will just lead to death immediately. There are some ways one can really manage the Parkinson's. So.
Priscilla, Empress, in that time before you were diagnosed, I'm sure, or what was it like, you know, being able, because you said you couldn't clean, you couldn't cook, you couldn't even do your daily chores. Was there stigmatization as well in that period before your diagnosis?
Yes, there was, because I'm very young and they don't expect me to be walking slowly, they don't expect me to be shaking, they don't expect me to be acting like an old woman or something. I lost weight, appetite, can't focus very well. Anything I want to say, I have to count my words, and I couldn't write properly like I used to. So mostly in the open space, maybe in the market or something, I want to get money out of my bag to pay for my fare. I find it difficult to unzip my bag. I find it difficult to move my legs while I'm in the market. You know, the place is always rowdy. People will be looking at me like I'm carrying a communicable disease. So I decided to restrict myself from going out to the public most times.
Wow. But things are better now with medication.
Very, very okay.
Let me turn to you again, John. What's the current state of awareness in Nigeria about Parkinson's disease?
Awareness is a bit low, and because we just have the Adeomide Salo Parkinson's Foundation trying to steer the course of awareness in Nigeria and some parts of Africa. The current statistics of people with PD, Parkinson's PD, we call it PD,
for sure.
For short, is not certain, because some people, like she said, you know, not everybody wants to come out. So some people are still hiding with this disease. And it is only when you come out you can receive the proper care, you can receive the proper diagnosis, and you can start the treatment. Parkinson's disease does not have a cure yet. The cause of it is not known, is not certain, and the cure is not known. You can only manage it.
So regarding awareness now, there's one thing for a person living with Parkinson's to know about it. It's another thing for the community to also know about. How much is being done regarding that kind of awareness for individuals not living with it, but living with people living with it, to be able to help manage the disease?
So our foundation has been promoting awareness. We started off in 2022, and we have been trying as much as possible to reach out to as many hospitals, through media channels, through local communities, do awareness in homes, in religious settings, just to ensure that we reach out to a large number of people, because Parkinson's, the way it is characterized, many people believe that it is for the people in the older age, from 60, 50 and above. But we have young onset Parkinson's, like her. She's a young onset Parkinson. And if you don't identify the symptoms on time, you cannot reach out to somebody that can help you. And like she said, you know, it took a neurologist to first diagnose her with Parkinson's.
The theme, we understand that Thursday was hashtag World Parkinson's Day, right? And I understand that the theme for this year's awareness celebrations is hashtag ABCs of PDs. I'd like for you to give us more insight on that, coming from the standpoint of a CSO.
Yes, it's for us to simplify Parkinson's so that everybody can understand what it involves. The simplicity in the symptoms. If you have shaking of hands, if you have slowness in movement, if you have constipation, finding it difficult to swallow, so many symptoms is attached to Parkinson's. And if you start seeing those symptoms, it is expected for you to visit the clinic or see a neurologist because they can easily diagnose you within 10 minutes.
Oh, wow.
A neurologist can diagnose you what a general doctor can take. You know, she said something about doing a lot of tests and all the rest of it, but they couldn't come to a conclusion. And it happens to a lot of people. The issue about it is that early diagnosis will help them slow down the progression because you can live your best life with Parkinson's.
I want to find out from Empress. Regarding the prevalence, like, how many people let's say in a year, do you meet with the same condition? And how many people have you made or helped understand, since you're an advocate, that this might be what you're suffering from? Go get checked.
I've helped some persons, not a lot. Anytime I see someone walking by on the road and I see the way the person is moving, you see that shaking or no
Symptoms,
shaking,
all of that.
The movement, the stiffness of the neck, and some other things, I just walk close to the person and ask questions. I introduce myself, then I ask questions. Are you on any medication? Was your neck like this before? I know that. I've spoken to some persons, and I've also taken them to Adeomi Desalo Parkinson's Foundation to get a proper care after they must have gone to see a doctor.
Okay.
Then I introduce them to Adeomi Desalo Parkinson's Foundation for physiotherapy, exercises, and all that. Everything at Adeomi Desalo Parkinson's Foundation is free. So I introduce them down there. Some of them will think they don't have the money. They don't. I just tell them, encourage them to come. When you come, you see what's happening over there. I'm also having Parkinson's like you.
Yeah.
That's after knowing that what they having is Parkinson's.
There are many people who do not know.
There are
that
many
they're
people.
sufferers.
Some of them they go to the church. They want deliverance. Some of them are on the mountain. I know of somebody. I'm still begging her, convincing her. She's taking the medication. Her doctor. She has seen a doctor, but she needs physiotherapy exercises and all the counseling and all that we are getting at ADPF. But she insists it's an attack. Somebody threw it to her from her husband's side and all that. So I'm still trying my best to convince more persons.
Right. I'm so glad she said this because there's also the factor of culture in our mentality and the social, cultural, factors that are there.
Yeah.
Adeomi Desalo Foundation, I think, is one of the first and only, maybe, that has been championing Parkinson's. And when you look at Empress, she doesn't really show the symptoms, right?
No.
She doesn't have the jitters. She's not shaking. Her voice is quivering. She's sitting. She's talking, walking. And that's all because of the free counseling and everything else that you do at Desalo. But what are some of the challenges that you have faced?
Well, one of the challenges is funding to run the organization. As a non-governmental and not-for-profit organization, she has mentioned that our services are absolutely at no cost to the people that we work with. Funding, then two, people accepting the fact that they have Parkinson's. If you accept the fact that you have Parkinson's, you can, open up, come around, and we can provide the proper referral. We don't diagnose because we are not the medical institution, but we have database, and we refer people to the clinics with neurologists, more especially Lagos Teaching Hospital and University Teaching Hospital. So some of the challenges cuts across different demographics, because the elderlies, some of them say, okay, it's old age, I don't want to, the young people, nothing is wrong with me, you understand? And all of this affects people coming out. There are quite a number of people with prevalence studies. There are quite a number of people that have Parkinson's, but they've already termed it as another ailment, maybe old age or something. And until we start coming out, we cannot raise awareness.
Until we start having conversations like this, we cannot raise awareness.
Yeah. Question for the young people who are listening right now and want to make their brain health better. What steps can they take We don't. Is it? Can you ward off Parkinson's? Is it something you can ward off by
taking practical steps, living healthier to promote your brain health?
Okay. Like I mentioned earlier, the way Parkinson's is not like there is a particular cause.
It's like cancer.
The scientific evidence that we have is genetic predisposition or environmental factors. However, she mentioned something that we all need to be doing: exercises, regular exercises.
Actual exercises.
Yeah, Mazino,
move your
real
body.
actual exercise.
Move your body.
Yeah, Mazino, move your body.
Move your body.
I'm going to take your advice on that.
Mazino, move your body.
Because I live a very sedentary life. And even when I'm going from home here, I'm inside the car, sitting down. That's not exercise.
No.
But exercise is an actual, well, I don't want to say deterrent, but it's an actual factor that we could use to help stimulate our brain health.
Yes.
That is so strange, because I thought perhaps maybe something else that involves activating the brain itself.
Like our center, we have a low-impact gym. We have boxing studio named after Muhammad Ali, who had Parkinson's before he passed.
Yes, true.
We have a dance studio. We have a support group where people like Empress and people with Parkinson's come together, sit together, and have a relaxing, a safe haven where they can freely discuss their issue and provide solutions for it. And we also have a program called micrographia, overcoming micrographia. One of the symptoms of Parkinson's is, when your handwriting becomes smaller, or when your hand starts shaking. Micrographia, yeah. So we have a program, that we do for the member, and that program helps them,
You might want to share your location as well for Adeomi Desolu Parkinson's, and also would you be taking contributions as well? What is like when it comes to, you said there's funding issues, so please share all those details. We're more than happy.
Okay, our website is www.desaluparkinsonsfoundation.org, and you can reach out to us on any of the social media handles at adpf.org. Our center is at Surulere, Alaka Estate. It's a serene environment where people can, have a relaxed atmosphere and enjoy themselves.
I wanted to say something. You mentioned one name, Muhammad Ali. And because you have Parkinson's doesn't mean that it's the end of your life. You can actually go on to achieve. One person I know that actually had Parkinson's or does have Parkinson's currently, he put out a documentary recently, Michael J. Fox.
Absolutely,
He is a fantastic actor.
It's an actress.
What's the movie?
Beg your pardon.
Coming Back to the Future. Oh, that is
brilliant.
Such a gem.
Brilliant.
Oh, I love that.
I mean, let's not go too far. There's Empress as well.
There's Empress as
who's
well.
living life as well,
I'm trying to
looking
highlight
healthy.
the fact that people have gone on to do even great works. J. Fox was not just relegated to movies. He also went on to have his own sitcom, and then he's put out a documentary. He's also produced and a director.
Producers, director as well. So he's done a number of things. And we also hope that this, likewise yourself, Empress, and everyone who's at ADPF, and that's Adeomi Desolu Foundation, Parkinson's Foundation. We hope that the future will be bright indeed for both of you. Empress, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you for doing this with us, and also to you, John, as well. And thank you. That was John Akinola. He is a senior programs manager at Adeomi Desolu Parkinson's Foundation, and Empress Priscilla. She's a Parkinson's advocate and also a member of the foundation as well. And we'll be talking about Parkinson's disease.
Well, we have had quite the show here today for Breakfast Extra. I'm sure that at the end of this show today, a lot of us are going to be going home with like a woohoo. We made it through our very first weekend, and guess what? You guys were all part of it.
Yeah, we're going to take a short break. When we come back on the other side, we're going to tell you all about it. Don't go anywhere. Stay with us.
I cannot hide my satisfaction because we made one weekend happen. Thank you very much, everybody who started the show with us from yesterday up until today. It's been one great one. From the beginning up until the end.
Oh, yes, indeed. And you made history joining us right here on Breakfast Extra. This has been 2 months in the making. Long hours, multiple cups of coffees, many segments that were cut off, walking titles, and plenty of simulation drills that we had to do to be here and make it happen for you. And also many thanks to all of our guests and everyone who joined us. And many thanks to all of the production at the back for making this happen.
Aren't you tired? Can we go now?
Sorry.
Can we go now? Thank you, everybody.
We'll be back on Saturday, all right?
Catch
8
you guys next
a.m.
week.
We'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye.